YouTube, what's going on? Welcome to another Pretty Boy Bat Rep. And I know I've been a little bit behind on these, but let's get into Buckeye Battle Round 1 of the Singles GT. So this is the list. It's the list I have been playing with. So you can obviously read it. I want to talk about it a little bit. I've decided to finally properly name everything. Just because I've been playing with it for a while, I feel like it's been doing really well and that they've earned their spot in history, so to speak. So, kind of go over the list a bit. Warlord Gorgoroth, he's a fairly cheap general that's well protected because he just sits in with the Iron Orcs. He's a pretty good all-around character in terms of he can fight in duels against other characters. With some exceptions, obviously. He's not that killy. But he's also good at killing rank and file. And pretty well protected, so. Mooney's just a cheap reroll for all my leaderships. Twitch has been fantastic. Witchcraft is awesome. Having the magic mushrooms is a big deal. I don't know why more people don't take them. And then Talisman of the Void, just a little extra channel, makes a big difference sometimes. They got a Pac-Man, who's a really cheap character, mobile. It's not easily chaffed, and really has had a big impact in some of my games. So, I do normally like kitting Pac-Man out completely, like making him a king, giving him all these items, but I can see the value in taking like a couple cheap guys like this. And then, of course, we have Crash and the Green Dragon. This guy's just like Captain Beatstick. He's a glass cannon, but he definitely earns his points back in most of the games. Then getting into the rest of the list, one of my favorite units is the Feral Orc Edbashers. Another glass cannon, but they're... oh man, they're so brutal, and I like the rending banner on them. That AP3 against like knights, whether it be Empire Knights or Kingdom of Aquitaine, really makes a big difference. And then I just have a Cave Goblin bunker, but it's a really solid bunker. It protects my BSB and my mage quite well, and it's cheap and it's an extra scoring unit. So, and then the rainbow creepy crawlies, because everybody comments on the crazy, just random color scheme I have for them. So that's where they earn their name. I like the fact that the goblins now have poison, which is nice. I give them light lances, so they can at least like kill other chaff if I need them to. And sometimes they'll get lucky and put a couple wounds on something they're not supposed to. But mainly they're there to screen my lines and just annoy my opponent, either blocking shooting or chaffing them up. And the fact that I have 8 of them is really nice because they scout, they vanguard, they have strider, they don't have to worry about terrain, and if I conga line them out, they can chaff multiple units at once, in some cases like a whole battle line. So I really like these guys. We got the Black Guard, Iron Orcs, just a solid, reliable unit. They've got bodyguard. I don't know if the green type banner is the best choice for them, but I do find that those extra like 5 attacks generally help swing things, so I've kept it for now. The Red Wagon, a unit I thought that was like sort of just a random add-on because I had the points, ends up being the X factor in a lot of games. He really helps out with things that normally can ruin somebody's backfield, so ambushers, flying units, like especially things like Kestrel Knights can just really be a pain, and this guy keeps those things away. And then we have the really big uns, the theme of the list. Triple Giants, they're all the same, they all have clubs, but now I kind of have my own models for them. I'm not just borrowing Ben's models anymore. So Samson is the giant that I've had for the longest time. I kind of went with that because he's got long hair and a long beard, so I thought that was fitting. And then Goliath is my new giant. This was a gift from Mark, actually, for house sitting for him, so that was really nice. Thank you, Mark. And Goliath is like, kind of looks like the Beast Herd giant. He's got like horns. He's bald. He's just big and ugly, so I just went with Goliath for him. And then Rudy is actually not my giant. That's the one model I am borrowing. Mark was nice enough. He had an old giant that he hadn't assembled, so I glued it for him, and then he helped me paint it. And because it's the old model, it's smaller. So I just, I figured he's the runt, but he's got a big heart. So he is Rudy. And I'll try and point them out to you in some of these games. But that was a long intro, but that's my list. Anyway, on to the main event. This is Chris Hines, my grudge match round 1. I've talked about this in my intro video, and we have a little bit at stake here. He's representing the Juice Crew. I'm representing the Green Dragons. So, for those of you that don't know, you can kind of see in the back, the traditional Buckeye battle first round is always frontline clash and hold the center, but then it is a blind deployment. So you really have no say in who goes first. It's basically a straight die roll, and you can't see where your opponent's putting your stuff. So this is kind of an interesting tactical note. So I thought about this long and hard beforehand. How do I want to deal with Chris's list? And I'll go over it obviously in the following pictures. But when I saw his list, I was pretty worried. I'm not going to lie. Normally VC is really a much easier matchup for me with the way my list is designed, because I have a Monster Mash list, and VC normally doesn't do well against Monster Mash. But Chris has a lot of hard counters to certain things in my army. So what I figured is I don't want to kind of line up against him, because I think that he'll have the edge. What I want to try and do is overload a flank and hope that he kind of deploys centrally or in sort of a balanced manner, and that way the full force of my army can take on like half of his, or like 2/3 of his, in a concentrated manner, and kind of like bust through that way. So that was kind of my thought process going in, and that's what I did. Now this was his deployment after the big reveal happened. On the left, he's got a big unit of zombies. Next to them is a big unit of ghouls. Then he's got a unit of... Those are bat swarms, I believe. Because I know they look like great bats, but one of them was a unit bat swarms. So I think those are the bat swarms. Unit wolves up front. Behind them is a zombie bunker with his necromancer in there. And then dead center is actually a colossal zombie dragon with his general riding on top. He's the Lamia vampire. In duels, you're like down 1 attack, you lose 1 attack, you're automatically at -1 agility. He's got the Reaper's Harvest, so he rolls against your leadership, but you're already at... He causes fear, and then on top of that, he has a special rule where he lowers your leadership by 1. So he's hitting you with lightning reflexes, so hitting you on 2s or 3s, and then wounding you on 2s. And you get no armor save, and it has divine attacks. Just brutal. So brutal character. Really like that build, Chris. And then he has a Shrieking Horror next to it. And way in the back is a unit of actual Great Bats, I believe. Then he's got a unit of 5 Spectral Hunters. And then on the hill, they look suspiciously like Barrel Guard, but they're not. They're actually Wraiths. So that's a unit of 10 Wraiths. Behind them, again, suspiciously looks like an Altar of Undeath, but it's not. It's a Dark Coach, so that those Wraiths can march outside of the bubble of the General, if need be. And then finishing out his battle line is another unit of 10 Wraiths. Ugh, just gross. And then my counter deployment. So as you can see, it worked pretty well so far in terms of I have kind of just concentrated on his one side. I decided to go with triple giants starting in the woods, and then they can move up onto that hill to give them rerolls to their charge distances, which is just a huge zoning threat. Even his like zombie dragon is not going to want to take 3 giants to the face. Dead center of my battle line are my Feral Orcs, and then next to them are my Iron Orcs, and I position them this way because I think I have an advantage for Hold the Center only because his like actual block, rank, and file don't really scare me. His ghouls could do decent damage to my feral orcs, but I just don't think his zombies and ghouls are really gonna threaten me. So I think I could push them up and then just have everything else kind of support in zone and take the objective that way. Behind that battle line is Pac-Man, kind of under the wing of Crash on the Green Dragon. Then I've got the Cave Guard, my bunker with my BSB and Twitch in there. My Witch Doctor, and then I have my Scrap Wagon, kind of protecting my right flank a bit in case he wants to bring some chaff over, or even like the wraiths, that type of stuff. I did decide to scout my spiders, because why not? There's no harm when it's a blind deployment. So I put them like this. I figured I needed something extra on my right flank, because he's obviously going to start swinging around. I'm going to need that chaff. And you can see I was very careful to make sure everybody was in the leadership bubble, so nothing would get terrored off. And then I decided to put these spiders on the hill, mainly, and they're kind of obviously strung out. One, if he's aggressive with his blocks, I can chaff all the blocks simultaneously. But also, I want them on the hill to threaten if he moved chaff up, because these guys can go in and actually kill his chaff. And I have a feeling I'm going to need some help with the chaff game. So that's why they're like that. So it was a straight roll-off. He won the first turn, unfortunately, and he decided to take it, so good on him. So he does exactly what I thought, which is he starts swinging around. He's trying to push the envelope and try to like really turn the flank here, which is smart. But unfortunately, because of where his general is, he's out of the leadership bubble for marching, so his blocks really don't move up much. So his blocks are kind of out of it right now. And yeah, and you can see the Shrieking Horror, the Wraith, the Dark Coach, those things are putting a lot of pressure on me. And then his magic phase. Yeah, it was a smart choice. He took 2 snipe spells, so I obviously have to worry about them because I have no way of healing myself. I can't let him pick off characters. He has the raise spells, but then he has 2 movement spells. He has 1 spell from Witchcraft, which is Raven's Wing, and then he has Dance Macabre. So at this point, like I'm just trying to keep my characters alive because I can't let him. He outranges me. I can't let him just sit back and snipe me. So I stopped the snipe spells, but inevitably he's going to get a movement spell off, and he Raven's Winged his horror all the way to the flank here. So it's not a great position to be in. I don't want that guy in my back lines flying around. He screams. He kills off 3 spiders, which is a little bit less than probably what he should have done. But obviously they're fine because I kept them in the leadership bubble so that they didn't panic, thankfully. So my turn to react. And I love this picture. I think it's very telling because it just kind of like swing, and you can see obviously my whole battle line just swung to the left. So a couple things, a lot going on in this picture. So obviously everything kind of makes a general shift. I do what I say, which is I move the giants up onto the hill. I want to zone things. Unfortunately, I probably could have used the giants on the other side to threaten the zombie dragon and the Shrieking Horror, but that's fine because they're going to keep the infantry at bay so they don't clog up my lines. Now, he moved his wolves up as he was moving his lines up, which I think was a mistake on his part, and it played directly into my plan. The spiders charge in. They don't care about the forest. They have Strider, and I get +1 agility for the charge. I've got lances. I've got poison everywhere. I think I'm going to kill those dogs. There's a good chance I will anyway. And not only do I clear his chaff, but then I can overrun, hit his zombies, and his necromancer is right there. Now, the chances aren't great that I kill him, but there's a chance, and I'll take it. And if nothing else, it chaffs up his lines for another turn. So that was a big charge. And then over on the right, You can see the scrap wagon is in the Shrieking Horror. So I turned the scrap wagon towards the Shrieking Horror. It was very far away. And what was going through my mind was, I'm going to move this up. I'm in not the best position. I'm trying to improve it, which is why everything's turned around to face. If he wants to waste a turn shooting and killing the scrap wagon with the Shrieking Horror, I put that as a win for me. It's a 90-point model. I don't care. It really doesn't have too much of a role in this game. So that was my intention, is like, okay, let me see if I can distract him. I'll just throw this up here. If he shrieks at it, that's great. He's not killing off my chaff. Or if he charges it with something, then it's kind of like the scrap wagon's acting as chaff. He's goading in some units so I can countercharge. Now, if you've been watching my reports, you'll know that my giants and my scrap wagon do not follow orders at all. They pretty much do whatever they want, and they seem to have a wisdom that's beyond my understanding. So I roll the 4 dice, and you take the 3 highest for the movement, and I rolled a 17, which is the best possible roll you can get without rolling triples. And I go 17 inches, and he flies right into the Shrieking Horror. So, here's a better picture of that. So now I'm thinking, well, okay, this is not great because I'm figuring I'm going to lose the scrap wagon. I said, well, let's think about this. I do 2d6 impact hits. I get like 7 on average. If I get like a little luck and I do 2 wounds, there's a chance he might not kill me. He might do like 3 wounds to me, and then I at least just hold him up a turn. Do a wound or 2. He's going to have to try to like heal him. And that's not a terrible way to go. Obviously, that's kind of wishful thinking. More times than not, he'll probably just kill me. So my magic phase, I'm trying to do everything possible just to hold this thing up. I put rerolls to hit up on him. I put deceptive glamour up, I think, or something like that. Or I might just lower his movement. That might be the attribute. But anyway, so really desperate. And then we go into combat. And wouldn't you freaking believe it? I roll 12 on impact hits. And I roll, average would be 2 6s. I roll 4. I roll 4 6s. And Chris only has a 6-up regen save, and he doesn't make any saves. I do 4 wounds. So now it's impossible for him to kill me. We actually made a mistake. You're supposed to pick like the type of attack before the fight. So I think he ended up going with his regular attacks, which, silly me, I told him, oh, go with your regular attacks, don't do the scream, because you can't kill him then. But it doesn't matter. In any case, he only does 2 wounds to me, and he pops from combat res. I don't even know what to say. I mean, that shouldn't have happened, clearly. But what the hell? That scrap wagon is amazing. He took down a 490-point monster, and he is worth 90. Wow. Just unbelievable. Really, really good luck on my part, and just unfortunate for Chris. And he was a really good sport about it, but man, that was crazy. Okay. We're going to move on from that picture. Spiders do what they're supposed to. They kill the wolves, and they overrun into the bunker. So good job. Assassination attempt at hand. Now, on Chris's turn, he's clearly pissed off at that scrap wagon, so he is going to send his colossal zombie dragon with a vampire on it. Just a bit overkill, but there it goes. He's going to clear off the pesky spiders with the spectral hunter, so he charges in there. His foot troops are slogging up ever so slowly, also mindful that the giants can charge them, so they're really staying back. Otherwise, his line just starts moving around. In Magic, he is able to kind of, I think, either Dance Macabre or Ravenswing these wraiths over to get in a better position at a charge arc, so that's never good. He seeks out vengeance on the scrap wagon. And then this was interesting. So we go for the assassination attempt. We only do 1 wound to the necromancer, so he lives. We obviously lose the combat, but not all of them die. There's 1 remaining spider, the red spider. Red must have like some special significance in this game. So obviously he breaks, he fails to catch me, and then in my turn, I'll be damned. That little guy was very brave and rallied, and he rallies right freaking there to chaff up his spectral hunters. I mean, just unbelievable. Oh, wow. Okay, so this is the rest of the board. Now I'm trying to pull out some tricks, because even though the Shrieking Horror is gone, that's 1 threat. The biggest threat, the threat I really don't know how to deal with, is the zombie dragon. And I needed my giants over there, but I'm already in the position I'm in. I'm just going to have to make do. So you can see at the top, Goliath moves over at a charge arc of the ghouls. It's still a longish charge for the zombies. I really don't want him to get like bogged down in the zombies. I want him to kind of like sneak around and hunt down the bunker, or at a later point like combo charge the ghouls. Rudy stays on the hill, and then Samson walks down off the hill to support the main line in case he's needed. Zone chaff and such. And then the rest of my line I structure like this. So the spiders, I figure there's really no good reason to save them, because I can't really chaff anything. Yeah, I could chaff the race, but then he just reaps me and kills them. So this is my plan. This is the best way to deal with a bad situation in my mind. I conga line obviously the spiders in front of the iron orcs. So in this way, I actually prevent Chris's zombie dragon from charging the iron orcs, at least directly. He can charge the spiders. I got a leadership 9 with a reroll for the terror check. I should hold. He can charge in, and he'll kill them flat out, and then overrun the iron orcs. But that's fine, because then once he's in combat with the iron orcs, it's my turn. And what I can do is he'll probably move up the bats to chaff my feral orcs, so I can't get the counter charge. But my secret weapon is Pac-Man. Pac-Man's sitting right there, facing the flank. He flies, you can't chaff him. So once he overruns the iron orcs, he charges into the flank. I'm not going to win the combat because I have to accept any challenges he puts out, but then I can accept with either the champion or Pac-Man, which he kills them on my turn. On his turn, then he kills the other one, and it saves my general from having being challenged out and being killed. And then by my next turn, the feral orc should be free to charge in, or Crash and the green dragon will be free to charge in and clean them up. So that was my thought. I know it's kind of like a decent amount of maneuvers that I'd have to do, but I can do it, and that's really the only way I can deal with the zombie dragon. And quite frankly, he doesn't have anything else to threaten me at this point. Yeah, he could put the Reapers in, but that's not terrible, and everything else is too far away. So that's my plan. I'm sticking to it. Bad picture, but in Magic, I think I get off. I'm slowing this unit down. Is that what I'm doing? I don't even know. I don't think it's consequential. Anyway, let's go into his turn. So vampire turn. Bad picture, I'm sorry. Forgot to turn this right side up. But anyway, so speaking about plans, you know, man makes plans and God laughs type thing. So he charges into the spiders. I take a terror test, and I roll 10 twice. So that plan didn't work. They flee. They run through my units. They don't care. So he redirects into the iron orcs, and it's an average charge. He needs a 9. So it's a 50-50 shot, and fortune favors me, and he fails it. And he fails it probably in the worst way possible, because he rolls like an 8, so he moves 6 inches up, which now just makes him vulnerable to whatever I want to charge in there. He moves his wraiths up to kind of support as best he can. He kills this guy. He was so angry at this guy. Hilarious, yeah. So I don't know if I think he reaps this guy, kills him. And then you kind of see how the board looks. He uses his Spectral Hunters to chaff up the Feral Orcs, which is what I figured. His other race, Dark Coach, Bats, start moving up. And then on this side, he's trying to clog me up with the zombies. It's not going to work, though. I'll just kind of move around them. And then his ghouls start to get a little aggressive and move up. And I think... Oh, okay, this is just showing he magical moved his wraiths up to get closer to support his dragon for counter charges and such. So that's about it. My turn. We're calling out the Wah. We're going in. This is the best chance I have of killing the zombie dragon. So the Iron Orcs go in with Crash and the green dragon. So obviously I'm going to challenge with Crash and hope I can do a couple wounds to him, and then using the static res of the Iron Orcs pop him. The Feral Orcs charge Chaff. Chris unfortunately makes another mistake with his Chaff, moving his bats up too far, and Rudy, energized, wanting to prove his worth to the other giants, runs down off the hill and crashes into him. So not only will I kill his bats, but then I've got a clear overrun into his bunker, which will take care of things. So Goliath up at the top moves around the zombies, which is fine, and then Samson figures that everything in the middle will be okay without him. He's going to go over and help out either against the ghouls or the zombies over there. Let's see, what else? And then I think my bunker kind of either sits still or moves back a bit, because I don't want to get... I think it moves back a bit because I don't want them to get charged by the wraiths, because that would be terrible. And the spiders, who failed their terror check, actually rally. So that's pretty nice. Getting into magic. I could bring the pain off on the zombie dragon. Now, I'll kind of... This is a better picture, so I'm going to talk about it here. There are really two spells that matter for this combat. The biggest issue I have is agility. Right? He's agility 7 as a vampire. He lowers my agility by 1 right off the bat. Now, I'm agility 4. On the charge, I'm agility 5. I have the potion of speed, so I can get up to agility 8. So agility 8, but subtracted by 1 is 7. That means we're going simultaneously. Which is okay, because I at least get his attacks off. But what I'm hoping for is to get to go first with the guy on top, and then hopefully if he survives, get the Wyvern's attacks. If I don't get the agility spell off and he kills me, then I'm in trouble, but before I can even strike. Not to mention, I want to lower his offensive skill and defense skill a bit to make it a little bit easier for me to hit, and to make him hit me on 3s and not 2s with his lightning reflexes. The other spell that's really good is the rerolls to hit, because I'm going to have a hard time hitting him. He is distracting. So I decided to roll 3 dice at the rerolls to hit spell, which is my hereditary. So I go, alright, bring the pain. I slap it down. I roll 3 dice. Oh wait, I'm sorry. I screwed this up. That was the more important spell. I roll the Deceptive Glamour first on 3 dice. He rolls all 5 dice to stop it. And then I get off Bring the Pain, which is rerolls to hit. Because at least I'm going Simo, so I at least get the rider to attack. So that's why it's more important. Okay. Now, Chris made a mistake. He thought that Bring the Pain meant rerolls to wound, which he figured, oh, well, you're wounding on 2s anyway, so that's why he didn't care about it. But obviously then he found out his rerolls to hit. He would have done something different. It's on the army he plays often. I mean, it's on the card. It was visible. He just didn't bother to look. But unfortunately, yeah, that was just an error on his part. So with rerolls to hit and being able to at least get the guy's attacks off, I do 4 wounds to that dragon. Now, unfortunately for me, he rolls well with his vampire. He doesn't roll any 1s, and he kills him immediately after that. But I already did 4 wounds. He only did 4 wounds to me. I've got 3 ranks banner charge with the Iron Orcs. Doesn't matter how much overkill he does, he's dead. So they annihilate each other, but that's a huge win for me and a trade that I'm more than willing to make. Well done, Crash. Well done. After all the combats are over, the Feral Orcs kill their chaff. The Iron Orcs kind of just turn to face. Pac-Man... So in my movement phase... Okay, it's hard to see because he's under the wing. I had moved Pac-Man up knowing that my Iron Orcs would kind of be exposed to a few multi-charges, like for counter-charges, and I went to just chaff him up. However, I was a bit careless with my chaffing, and you can see why. He can wheel enough to get in and just barely get an overrun on the Iron Orcs. So that is not good. Now, he does do his crumble checks. Nothing too crazy happens. He originally put a few wounds on the Dark Coach, but then he realized that it's vampiric. So it doesn't crumble, so that was fine. And then we both made a couple mistakes with the vampire rules. He thought that autonomous, which is what the Dark Coach gives to units within 6 inches, means that you don't have to crumble. So at this point and other points of the battle, he played it that way, and then later we fixed it. I'll talk about that later. But anyway, he loses like one of the bats, but it's still alive. It's fine. Some zombies and ghouls die, but not a big deal. The giant kills the chaff, and Rudy overruns into the bunker. So assassination attempt round 2. Give it a shot. Which is good. And he's got to go in all in now. There's really no point in sitting back, so he goes for it. Dark Coach goes in. The Wraiths go into the flank, but you can see my generals on that side, so with my magical attacks, I'm thinking, I could probably kill a couple per turn. Hopefully help offset that flank charge he's got. And the Dark Coach will hurt on the charge, but then I figure with great weapons, I can handle it. So we will see how that works. He had charged something into Samson, and I decided to flee. I think was it the Wraiths? No, it was the ghouls. The ghouls had charged into him, and I decided to flee, because if he hit him, he did well in combat and killed him, he could overrun into the flank of the Feral Orcs. So that's why. So he fled. He moves his chaff up. And then he magical moves in front of my Feral Orcs. Not much I can do there. The Butcher Boys basically are the ultimate chaff killers. That is what they're skilled at. Pac-Man dies. Way to take one for the team. But in my stupidity, I give him an overrun there. So now more Wraiths to deal with. That's not good. And he comes in with a freaking vengeance. I think he rolled like max on impact hits. He rolled well to hit with all the Wraiths, because he still needs 4s to hit me, and he needs 3s to wound me. And look at the carnage. I mean, seriously. What? He killed 18 Iron Orcs. Oh my gosh. It was awful. It was so bad. Thanks to Bodyguard, I stick around. My general kills off a few wraiths. I think I do 1 wound to the Dark Coach, something like that. It was terrible. My only hope is now is that maybe because I only have 2 guys left, he can't generate too much combat res, and my general can kill enough to stick around, but wow. Over here, Rudy tries to wail on the Necromancer, but only does a couple wounds, because I still need 4s to hit. He does 2 wounds, he stomps on some zombies, and we stick around there. And then, in my turn, Orcs and Goblins, we're going to clear the chaff of the Feral Orcs. Samson rallies, which is great. This is a better picture. So, I probably shouldn't have done this. I probably should have just let the ghouls charge into the Feral Orcs, but I'm really worried about the ghouls against Feral Orcs because, one, there's a lot of them. He outnumbers me. 2, he has a lot of attacks with poison, and I have no armor. So he's going to get some wounds through. And then he's not going anywhere, even though I win combat. So then the next round he can reform, and he has rerolls to hit then, and he'll just annihilate the unit. So I figure I'm going to charge Goliath into the rear. Even with poison, he doesn't have that many attacks. I'll win combat, force him to turn around. Hopefully I can live, and then have the Feral Orcs go in and clean them up at that point, after they've been softened up. And then the spiders, which had rallied the previous turn, go in to chaff up the zombies. Now, at this point, the Feral Orcs have been doing their job, which is to sit on the objective. I basically have the objective at this point, so things are looking pretty good. I get Deceptive Glamour off on the ghouls, just trying to make sure, they don't get too many lucky wounds thrown the giant. Over here, Rudy finishes the job and flattens that Necromancer, which is great, which now means that he has no master, and he's going to have to crumble every turn, which is awesome. So between crumble and the carnage that Goliath wreaks, I mean, lots of ghouls are dead. I don't even know if he takes a wound, and then the Feral Orcs overrun to kind of put themselves in right in front of those ghouls. Over here, I lose the last 2 Iron Orcs. Gorgoroth does a few more wounds to the Wraiths. I don't know why this is another picture. I think he might have stuck around for a turn, but then he dies horribly afterwards. So, all that talk about how to save my general, I lost him anyway. Darn, darn, darn. It was really my fault, though. If that second unit of Wraiths wouldn't have gone in, I think this would have turned out a lot better. I would have lasted a little longer, the giant could have gone in to help, but now I'm kind of screwed. They all reform like this. Samson's a little worried. Now over here, the pictures are going quickly. He had reformed the last turn. The ghouls go crazy. They have rerolls to hit, and they annihilate the giant. So, kind of gave up a lot of points there, and didn't get any returns, so that kind of stinks. Rudy, however, finishes off the zombies, which is great. Turns back to face. And now, I kind of have a decision to make. I could try to go after the ghouls, which is fine. It's a decent amount of points, but I'm thinking if I abandon my back line, he's going to clean up my bunker, get all those points, all that bad stuff. I have to have something threatening his Wraiths and his Dark Coach, otherwise they're going to go on a rampage. Meanwhile, I think the zombies charge the spiders and I fled or something. I don't know. They're they're doing chaff shenanigans. I don't remember at this point. And so in my turn, the bunker is trying to get the hell out of the way. Oh, and that's what the spiders are doing. They conga line to chaff up the zombies so that they can't threaten my bunker. Samson goes into the whittle down Wraiths because there's only 3 of them. So he should be able to kill them and break through, and I'm hoping just to overrun past everything. I put a bunch of buffs up on the Wraiths in case he wants to charge the Feralorks. He had absolutely no intention. Kill the Wraiths, but I don't overrun very far, which is bad. I roll like a 4. Really, really bad. My Rudy, which was trying to sneak around the back, he Reapers him with the unit of Wraiths, and he just dies. So that was stupid on my part. I totally forgot about that. So just gave up those points. So now I'm just bleeding points for like no reason. Yes, that's just showing that. His Dark Coach is doing stuff. This is just showing my my bunker trying to stay away from everybody. He kills the chaff with the zombies, I believe. The ghouls start coming back towards the center now that nothing's threatening them. And then he's kind of got me surrender a little bit. I decide to give him, I think, the rear of the Feralorks to the ghouls, because I don't think that's going to matter too much, and give everything else the front. And that's the last picture. That's where the game ends. Whew. So, a lot of carnage. Unfortunately, a couple rules we did wrong. One of them was Chris thought that you take the crumble checks at the end of the turn. Turns out you take them at the beginning of the turn, which could have like made a difference maybe with the giant combat and losing ghoul attacks, or just a couple other things. And then the bigger mistake was just he thought that the Dark Coach prevented the Wraiths from crumbling. And so obviously he realized this after the game. He actually realized this after we had initially turned our scoring sheets in, but before the second round started. And he was, I think this is a mark of like the type of player he is, to have the honesty to go up and let me know that and then address it. So we talked about it, and we said probably the easiest thing would be is to give me the 1 unit of Wraiths, because with that many rounds of crumbling, their leadership's pretty low. They probably would die. And Rudy, which they did kill because they reaped him, probably would have lived. So we kind of just reversed that. The giant lived and the Reapers died. So anyway, that's a long explanation, but obviously this was an Orc and Goblin victory, and Chris had to wear the shirt. But he did it proudly. He stood up on a chair, he took his shirt off, he put the Green Dragon shirt on. It has his name on it and everything, and it looks great. So it found a new home. Great game, Chris. This was a lot of fun. We've never played each other before. Chris is a super nice guy, good player. Definitely play him if you have the availability, if you have the chance to. So, really fun game. At the end of it all, it ended up being a 15-5 victory. I bled a lot of points at the end, unfortunately. So I was up on points, but not like by a tremendous amount, but I did win the objective. So, pretty solid win. I am very happy with that result, considering this was kind of a scary matchup for me. Chris had known what my list was for a long time, so he could prepare against it. So, anyway, good win. MVPs, I'd say the Dark Coach for VC. I think just the ability to give his march, even after his general died, really helped with those rates. That was big. The Dark Coach also completely blew up my Iron Orc unit and then killed my general. The Vampire on that thing is really good. I have a lot of respect for Dark Coaches. And then for Orcs and Goblins, there's really 2 MVPs for this game. I think the Scrap Wagon definitely gets an MVP for this game. I don't think there's any other time where he's gonna get MVP. He definitely gets an MVP vote, and there are 2 this game. The other one being Crash and the Green Dragon, obviously taking down a colossal zombie dragon with a vampire on it. Amazing. And my magic was also helpful in this game at different points. But yeah, those are my 2 MVPs. So to wrap things up, what did we learn today from this video? Sometimes deployment strategies might work. In this game, I think it did. I think It forced him to have to realign his army. It kind of left his infantry behind, which is huge. So I'm really only worrying about a couple things. And I think this game would have heavily gone in his favor if he had his infantry where he wanted them to. Sympathies for the weak. I think, psychology plays a lot into this game. And I've made both types of mistakes before. I made the mistake where, like, when you're losing, you kind of just, like, get defeated, and then you play even worse, and you kind of just say, screw it, and, like, you give up more points instead of trying to fight back. So, like, there's that mistake, but then there's also the mistake of, like, you've had some really lucky dice rolls go your way, or, like, you're really crushing your opponent, and then you kind of figure, alright, well, this game's over. Like, I definitely have the win here, and then you kind of play sloppily, and you're not really paying careful attention to things you should. And that kind of happened for me, where, like, in the beginning, I was paying attention to a lot of things and making really good moves, and then later on, when I was winning, I kind of was like, alright, well, like, this game's pretty much over, and not paying that much attention. I ended up bleeding a lot of points where I shouldn't have. So, good on Chris for, kind of fighting his way back into it and not giving up, but also kind of a little shame on me for just kind of phoning it in and not playing the same game throughout. So I gotta work on that. And then the last thing is the chaff war. Chaff obviously is such an important part of this game, and I think it really impacted how things went here. I think Chris made 2 mistakes with his chaff, moving them up too far, which allowed me to get 2 charges off, which eventually ended up killing his necromancer in his bunker, and it cleared 2 units of chaff that he really could have really needed to delay my charges. So that was huge. And on the other hand, I made a chaff mistake. Again, being careless with Pac-Man, I should have had him tilting the other way, so that if his rates kill him, which they would obviously, but then they don't get the overrun into my Ironworks. I would have been much better off if I just gave him the overrun to the Feral Orcs with that unit. So anyway, that's just a couple things I noticed. If you have other things that you noticed, definitely let me know. And then, before I sign off for this game, obviously I'm going to segue into a little advertisement for our tournament, Dragon's Den 2018. It's being hosted in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania, at a lovely store called Gamers Heaven. It is on the weekend of September 8th through 9th. It's a 2-day, 4,500-point tournament, basically out of the rulebook with like a very minor twist. All the information's on the 9th Age forum. You can kind of like type in Dragon's Den. If you need help finding it, just let me know. You can either comment here or message me. It's looking to be a pretty big tournament. I mean, we still have like a little bit over a month for people to sign up, and we're already at like 36 people, I think, the last time I checked, which is huge. So I just want to give a big shout out to all those that signed up already, especially for a first-time tournament. It's awesome. Thank you to all the out-of-towners that are coming in. Lots of people from all over that are making the travel down. And I want to incentivize more people that if you want to come, but you're kind of like hesitant because it's far away, it'd either be a lot of money in gas or like in airfare. I know that there are fairly reasonable flights into Philadelphia, so feel free to research themselves. But I'm offering my place to anybody that's like traveling from out of town. Just let me know, and you won't have to pay hotel fees. You can just stay overnight at my place, and we'll all get together and have a great time. Anyway, that's it for this one. Great first round. I'll start putting out the other battle reports. Thank you for watching. Hit like, subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff, and I'll see you on the next one.